What a moment that is. Isn't that what football's all about, Graeme?
That's one of the best interviews I think I've ever seen on our programme. I mean, the kid couldn't keep the smile off his face. You know, we would talk about his goal and he's one man of the match because of that, but his general play, we were saying, because we played in midfield, the first half he was fabulous. You know, he's a lovely clean strike over the ball. He was pinging it. In that, playing against Man United, 19 years old, in his debut, he belonged out there. It wasn't like, I'll take 15, 20 minutes to get up to speed. From the first minute, the first touch of the ball, he looked confident on the ball. You know, he was prepared to open the play out. And you have to say, over the 90 minutes, does debuts get better than that? I mean, he was fabulous. And his brother, two of them in there, and the older brother said that they complement each other. And both are lovely strikers of the ball. And that, you know, if you've got that in your locker as a midfield player, it's a big advantage.
It's a lovely balance, like you say. Because I'd say Matty's a bit more tenacious. He gets about the park. Sean seems to have a lot of time on the ball. When he has it, the game almost stands still. So they work perfectly, so they can play together. I think first I want to credit the manager, because he had to pick his players up after what must have been the most difficult week probably he's ever had in his managerial career. People question his job. Is he the right man for it? And he got a performance out of his team that was incredible. Then he went back to three at the back, which really worked. He played the two brothers together. Up front, he looked dangerous. Sam Maxan at times was, I think Gary, you summed it up perfectly. He said, I don't know, he knows what he's doing sometimes, but he was a real threat all game. And Newcastle deserved it, you know. And we'll talk about Man United, like you say, but the two boys in midfield and that interview is just, you know, I remember making my debut, and it makes your hair stand on end when you hear that, because they're all great feelings. We've all been there.
I've got goosebumps, and it's a painful day. I'm a United fan, but for Steve Bruce, knowing how much he'll have suffered in the last month or two, but for those two young lads, I mean, football players, there is this perception of football players that they just basically think about the money, they think about the cars, they think about the nice life. But you just see that interview there, and it brings everything back to you in terms of what a young kid dreams of when he's 5, 6 years of age, standing in those probably in those stands, watching his team play, and he gets a chance out there to go and play against Manchester United. And he scores a goal, and you just see that the beam on his face is unbelievable, and that to me gives me that sort of hope and thrill of why we all love football, because that's what it's about as a young kid. You want those dreams in your head, and he's just achieved a dream today, and I'm delighted for him.
Must bring some personal memories as well for you and Phil playing for Manchester United together.
And we still lived at home when we first made our debuts, and you know, we were in the same position as well, and it was competitive. One of us would play, one of us wouldn't, and sometimes both of us would. And you know, particularly when you win. I mean, there was never a moment where one of us had scored. That was the problem.
You never got that cuddle.
I'd say now there's no way they're finding their dad tonight in the house. He's in a pub somewhere.
He's in the
having
big
a good old few,
yeah.
I'm sure. And they deserve it. I mean, I can't imagine. You'd probably want to take if we could take a camera home to their house tonight, we should. Because honestly, it will be absolutely sensational. The spirit, the feeling. You saw the parents in the ground. It's a brilliant, brilliant feeling.
Well, I met his mum outside after the Brighton game, and I can't remember if he was on the bench or not. I didn't be taking much notice of the bench that day, but I remember thinking, what a lovely family. And he actually thought I was, and I said to him, oh, hello, nice to meet you, because I'd seen his face before. He went, no, I think you're talking about my brother. I went, no, I know you are as well. They're so unassuming. And to see the two of them today, and the feeling of joy, and just to watch that unfold, and not just his goal, because that takes away almost what he did all game. He was so composed from minute one.
And sometimes, you know, I said before the game that the life has gone from this place in the last few years coming up here. But something like that today, that will give every single one of those 50-odd thousand Newcastle fans that feeling that there is something there. That's why we turn up. That's why we come here every single week. Because one of their own has gone out there today and he's grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. He's scored the winning goal, and they can all go home tonight thinking that's why I support Newcastle United, because they're having tough times.
Quite different, aren't they? I mean, different to look at, different shape, and they play differently. But the two of them, their parents should be extremely proud of them, because for the young man making his debut today, he played as if he belongs at this level. And if that's his, you know, if that is his standard, if he can maintain that at 19 years old. Well, what struck me, sorry Dave, what struck me, from the first minute, he was prepared to, you know, he was pinging 30 and 40-yard passes. And he is, as we saw for the goal, the most wonderful, you know, he swipes the ball, you know, it's a clean kick over the ball. And that's a big thing to have.